Hey, good afternoon, everybody. We're a little bit late coming on. It's 3:30, almost 27 actually. So we've been busy today and gone some this morning and got back and then stayed hooked up ever since we've been back. So and had people in and out of the office off and on all afternoon. It's about time we'd start trying to get on the live. Somebody to come by. So here we go. If somebody knocks on the door or whatever, you just have
And
to.
Stella's being a brat.
Yeah, bear
She's
with the
in
dog
trouble.
barking. So, so we're going to be back in Romans chapter 12. Yesterday we looked at 19. Don't never take revenge. Friends. It said, "Dear friends, never take revenge. Refriends." That's if you're taking revenge on a friend, I guess, a refriend. But anyhow, leave that to the righteous anger of God. For the scriptures say, "I will take revenge. I will pay them back," says the Lord. And then again, we kind of kept it. I want to talk about that again today. I will pay them back. Now, a lot of people try to pray down God's wrath and hellfire and damnation on people. Right. And that's not what he's talking about for us to figure out how we want God to pay him back. Because, see, God judges the attitude of the heart. He knows we see people's actions and reactions to things, and then we think, well, they're doing it because of this, or they're not doing it because of this or that, whatever. And sometimes you may be right. Sometimes you may be dead on, but a lot of times you're not, because we didn't see the backstory from 6 months ago, 6 years ago, that might have led up to a situation or whatever. And then people get their feelings hurt or, come back with whatever reasons they come up with. And that, so what we have to realize here is that we need to leave room for God to do what God is due, because he is a righteous judge. He knows, because he can judge the actual heart and the intent. If you're trying to prove a crime, you got to prove was their intent, malicious intent, and the evidence and all that stuff like that. Does it prove that they did it, or is there something that don't, and all that stuff like that. But God knows exactly the intent of their heart. Where we may take that them people were out to destroy me, and they really wasn't. It's how we perceived it. Or we think, well, they didn't really mean to hurt us, and they was trying to destroy you. They might have manipulated you and covered things up down through the years to where you just thought, well, and a lot of times victims will take on, well, it's my fault. I did it. Women are really bad about that, staying in abusive relationships and things like that. So, but when we get down to it and we finally have had enough, and we've tried to get away from it, we've tried to run the flight or fight, now we feel we're backed into a corner and we're going to fight our way out. Now, if it is a true threat upon your life or your family's life, you need to be able to deal with that in that. But as people deal with personal relationships and things like that, and whether it's at work or at home or with a family member, we need to not get this that I'm so mad that I'm going to pour out my wrath on them, because that's when we get in trouble. And there's a lot of different ways that God, he says, I will pay them back. Sometimes it's they lose their peace, they lose their joy. God can not for punishment's sake, he's not mad at them, but he is going to take revenge upon people, especially that have harmed little ones. Jesus himself said, if anyone hurts one of these little ones, it's better off they wouldn't be born, and a millstone tied around their neck and they cast into the deepest part of the ocean. In that, and I don't know exactly how that's going to happen. We see the punishments in Revelations and different things. But here's what I take out of this about not. We'll get Kelly's input on here in a minute. Is that he says, I will pay them back. He says, I will do it. Let God handle that revenge and payback stuff. Now, if you need to protect yourself or your family, whatever, this is not what this is talking about. It's where you're sitting around, somebody's gossiped about you, somebody stabbed you in the back, somebody slandered you, somebody kind of stepped on you on their way up the ladder, and maybe even got you fired or whatever it is. Maybe as a family member that's caused great hurt and destruction within the family, within you or a spouse or mom or dad or one of your kids. That will really torque you off when people start jacking with your kids and things like that. And it's hard not to. But again, that we leave room, and God says, I will do it. I will pay them back, says the Lord, that we make sure that we leave room, because that's what it says. Dear friends, never take revenge. Leave that to the righteous anger of God. For the scriptures say, I will take revenge. I will pay them back. So that's what we've got to understand and hang in there on. That because also it enables us then to forgive. And to move pay. Again, not for protection to be a doormat and just let somebody beat on you and thump on you for no reason. I'm not saying that. But again, God can pay them back in ways that we can't even see or know, because he knows then what's really important and the reasons why. Because we may be wanting to take revenge on somebody, and it's really something that we've misunderstood or whatever. So again, leave room for God, but also leave room for God to bring a peace and calm in you. For God to do a work in you as you try to plot revenge, as you try to do these things like that. So Kelly, what's some things that you have seen you've dealt? We all have, not just do we all deal with family problems, work problems. You don't have any work problems because you got it pretty good. easy work. That's a joke. She knows.
Actually, this is the best job I've ever had in my whole life.
She puts up with a lot from. I dump a lot on her. Don't mean to.
Best job I've ever had in my whole life.
But when we look at this about what helps you to make sure that you're not trying to take revenge, that you're leaving room for God, you're not taking revenge, you're trying to show them grace and mercy in whatever's going on.
Well, having worked in the corporate world for a long time, 20 plus years, I learned not to try and figure out why somebody did what they did, just to let it go. And I saw how God paid those. I saw how God handled that. I saw how God did have that revenge, and I didn't have to even think about it. I walked away from the situation, and God handled the rest of it, and I didn't have to think about it. So just seeing what He can do. Are we always going to see it? No, we may never see it. It may never be until they get up into Judgment Day does the revenge happen. But sometimes it's just best just to walk away and let God handle it. I don't want to see people get hurt. I don't want to, I'm not a violent person. There are times you mess with my kids, and I can get pretty out there because my kids and my grandkids are the most precious things to me, and I will get violent if you try to hurt one of them, or if you try to mess with one of them, or if you try to tell one of them that they're not worthy of being who they are. But it's just stepping away from the situation too, and just allowing God to handle that situation. Because if I do my own revenge, then I'm the one that's getting hurt through all of that. Because it's eating me alive, and I'm trying, and I'm plotting, and I'm thinking, and when I've let it go, I get so much more joy and so much more happiness and so much more everything when I let it go and not try to plot revenge on anybody. Because you do get stabbed in the back a lot. You get stabbed in the back by family members, and then when those family members or work co-workers or whatever, friends, whatever, come back and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I have gotten to where I say, I'm going to let your actions speak louder than your words. I'm not going to listen to your words. I'm going to watch your actions." That's when you know somebody is truly sorry and somebody's truly repentant and somebody would truly change.
Right. And again, when they don't, that's where God steps in and
exactly
you say, okay,
right.
Whatever, again, as much, because remember what verse 17, do all that you can
Yes.
live in peace, as much as possible, live at peace with all men, depending on the translation. But again, when you can't, sometimes if you can walk away from it, let God deal with the payback and the revenge part of it, because he sees the exact heart of the matter, where we don't. Sometimes we do. We know exactly where they're coming from, exactly what they're up to. I'm not saying that we never do, but again, hang in there and don't get ate up with anger and frustration and the fight mode all the time in that for any little thing. I had a guy tell me one time, quit shooting bullets at little bitty minor stuff that really don't need a bullet. Right. Sometimes you can walk away from that, because if you keep slinging bullets all the time, when you get down to something where you need your bullets, you ain't going to have them, because you've done expended it all. And make sure that you stay focused on what Jesus has called you to do. And here's another thing. If you're running your race with your eyes fixed on Jesus, as people come in and try to do stuff to you, the Lord also gives us that extra bit of mercy that day, that extra bit of strength, that extra bit of forgiveness to get on. But if we get our eyes off of that and we look at the problem or the hurt somebody's causing or what they're doing, that's then when the enemy also gets there and that anger gets away from itself, and we lose control. Right. And then we go to the other side. We go from the honorable side, like this said, make sure that everything we do, that everyone can see we're honorable. We go from honorable doing things to dishonorable things. So hang in there. Don't let it get you down. Know that God, He says, I will take. Know that God's not going to let this slide.
No, He's not going to let that hurt. He's not
Yeah.
going to let people continually hurt you. He's just not. That's not how He is. That's not how He operates. He's not going to let that happen. He will take care of you as long as you're staying fixed and focused on Him.
And I know one thing that is hard. It's been a big challenge for me once I got up in my early 20s. Start from my late teens to my early 20s. Is if somebody hurt a child and different things like that I wanted to take revenge on that and just do away with them, and that wasn't my spot or my place or my part to that. That's why we have a justice system. Right. Why I have police officers to go, whatever, arrest them, get them in the legal system, and then your district attorneys or assistant take over, and then goes in the court, and then the judges do whatever and goes on down. And it's real hard to know a lot, especially like Kelly said about her kids, when you see somebody really hurt or devastated and stuff. And I had a kid one time tell me that had been abused, since they was just a small child, and up finally at about 15, they'd had enough of it, and and did great bodily harm to their abuser, which was actually a step uncle, I believe is what, somewhere it was a step. It wasn't a stepdad, I believe it was an aunt, their blood aunt, and it was her husband that had come in there. I can't remember the whole deal on that. I don't know if you could even have a step uncle. Ever married your aunt, you're gonna be your uncle,
Yeah.
but whatever, something in that, I can't remember. But again, and they just said they couldn't, and they got to the point they had to and stop. I told them, you had every right to protect yourself.
That's exactly
And they had
right.
went to family members to try to stop it and never could, whatever it was. They did. I said, don't feel bad about that,
No.
because they had gotten saved then some years later, and they read this and they felt that they took revenge and God was mad at them. And
No.
again, they're the victim and they're blaming themselves for the hurt they caused upon this person.
Right.
I said, no, that ain't right. Again,
And
you've got
God
a right
helped
to
him
protect yourself.
exact that,
Yeah.
that revenge. God helped
So,
him have the courage and the strength to
Right.
stop it.
So,
Because God has free will. That uncle wasn't going to stop that. That uncle had free will, and he wasn't listening to what God was telling him. God was probably telling him it was the wrong thing to do, and he shouldn't be doing it. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes we have to
And-
exact our free will and stop it.
And exactly, that's what you got to understand is, okay, I'm praying and asking God, all right, God, take your revenge on them, and you feel like nothing's happening. Well, if there's a point in the time that, again, God can do anything, but we get this stuff jumbled in our minds on
Right.
this revenge. And a lot of times people will say, okay, God, I'm not going to touch him. I'm hands off.
Right.
Let's send the lightning bolt, and then God don't. And then we're mad at God. Well, he's not taking revenge. Well, he's not going to take revenge in your time and in your way.
Right.
But I promise you, he said, I will pay them back. So that's why we've got to leave room for the righteous, because God's anger is right. It's directed the right way,
Exactly.
not out of just frustration, anger because of what happened, but for true punishment to mete out justice in that. And it's hard. It's very hard for me. This is a very, very hard thing for me sometimes to do and to deal with. Very hard. And I try real hard to do that, and I don't always, succeed in that. But again, that's what I know, that the Lord will do that, and the Lord will pay him back. So hang in there. Ask him for the extra grace and mercy, in that when you're struggling with this, and the anger and the
strength.
wrath, the strength to go through it and do it. And I promise you, you'll get through it. God will get you
Yes,
through it. I'll
He
guarantee
sure
you
will.
in that. So God bless y'all. Again, we got kids coming in here. The vans will be running here in just a little bit.
Yep.
Out a little after 5 o'clock. They'll head out to pick up our K through 5th graders. Then they'll drop them off, be back out on the routes picking up our junior and senior high youth kids, and they'll kick off that at 7. Feeding them tonight. I believe we're having sloppy joes,
Yes, I
right,
think
and
she
stuff.
said
So we'll
sloppy
feed
joes,
them.
chips, and mozzarella sticks, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. So that's all. Chris has got all that going, so we'll have them something to eat and stuff. So we'll have them there. And so if you need, again, it's not too late. Holler or call us, text us on the church number 918-399-5956 if you know of a kid that needs a ride or whatever. So we'll get by and get them picked up. It's hard if you call us at 6:15. My kid's in 3rd grade. Can you come get them? We're already picking up youth kids, so
Right.
we can't do that. It's not that we don't want to. It's just it got past our time frame
Right.
to do that.
Because
so
we are
holler.
on a strict
Yes.
schedule.
Very strict.
Because once we get the little kids here, the buses leave almost immediately to go start picking up the youth, because we have to get the youth here in time for the little kids to get out to be able to take the little kids
Yeah,
home.
pick them up and go back.
So it's a strict timeline. So and we got to be able to get where we need to be each and every time, because some of those houses are a little ways out there.
Yeah, we pick up some kids that live way out in the country. So,
So-
again, if you can help us out, a little bit of extra time sure helps us. We got to
Yes.
adjust the route. We'll get there best that we can. If we don't, it's not that we don't want to. It's just we'll
Right.
try to get them in on the route so we know where to go
Right.
and work that out. We just have 2 vans and stuff, so that does create a problem
Yes,
of
it
getting
does.
them all
Yeah.
here. Because sometimes we're picking up 40, 45 kids, and
Right.
our vans are the smaller vans, so we keep
Yeah.
we can't haul a large, not a big bus. We can get them all in one trip. So
Right.
anyhow, bear with us. But if they want to come, we want to get them here. We want them here to get them on our routes if they need picked up. They're welcome to drive their own vehicles here. If they're driving age, they can drive and come and go then on their own, and that will be fine. So
But
that's
they do
tonight.
have to get out of the vehicle and come into
Yeah.
the building.
Yeah, they can't hang
cannot come
out
out
in-
here and sit in their vehicle.
Yeah, we won't leave them in the parking lot. We'll make sure they're out and in here where they're supervised. So that's going on tonight. So 6 o'clock little kids, 7 o'clock youth kids. And then this Saturday, the 14th, concealed carry class that kicks off at 8 o'clock. So if you want to come to that, we still got a little bit of room.
Yes.
That is a pretty large class already. If even half those people show up that say they're coming, so that is Saturday the 14th, kicks off at 8. Services on Sunday, 9 and 11 a.m., Lord willing, on the 15th. And then, Kelly, you can tell them about the women's.
The
deal we
women's,
got.
our first women's meeting is going to be at 6 o'clock on Sunday. We're going to meet just meet in the church. We're just going to kind of do some, go over some informational stuff and figure out how we want to do it. Do we want to do it weekly? Do we want to do it monthly? How it fits into everybody's schedule. Is that time better? Is another time better? We're going to do that one on Sunday at 6, but then we're also going to do another women's meeting at 10:30 on Wednesday here in the fellowship hall. I'm going to try and have childcare. I may not be able to get it done this week, but I'm working on getting childcare for those mamas who have littles that want to come and be a part of something and not be distracted with their baby or their little or whatever the case may be. So that will be Wednesday morning at 10:30.
Okay, so that'll be the 18th. It's
Yes.
coming Wednesday, not tonight. Of course, we're already past
Yes.
10:30 a.m., but on the 18th, so next
Yes.
Wednesday that morning, they'll be in here. So God bless y'all. Again, we got our sponsorships opened up. If you'd
Yes,
like to be
please.
a sponsor for 2023, there's our last year sponsors scrolling across. There, we got to get in there. We don't have the actual get with Doug and get in there and get that changed up. So it's not too late if you want to come in and be a sponsor. We'd love to have you, or some of these return sponsors will be calling you guys on that. So appreciate a great 2022 through this, and looking forward to an even better 2023. So if we can help you, holler at us, 918-399-5956. God bless you. Remember, it's faith over fear, Christ over crisis, and you can remain calm in the chaos.